morning again. How was day one? Good? You enjoyed it? Okay, how many of you played testing league? Great. So first I'd like to invite all our ITL finalists to come on stage. ITL finalists, please. So do we have all the 5 teams? So we had a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. 2,000 teams from 27 countries participated in Indian Testing League, and we have the 5 teams. Each team has 2 persons, 3 from Cognizant, 1 from HCL Technologies, and the 5th team from Schneider Electric. So they will be playing the Indian Testing League finals today, which will be held at this stage. And that will be more like a Bonvita quiz. We'll have audio, video around, very interesting, a lot of interesting questions for the crowd as well. So be here to cheer them. So we have 3 teams here. I think the other two teams are preparing. So they wanted to know which books they should refer to. So they would be coming shortly. So your experience, how has been your journey so far? Like to say something.
Like when we started it, we never thought like we'll be here. It actually took it very casually. Then we realized the importance. Once we got the first round scorecard, we realized the importance of it. Then we started preparing. We came all the way from Chennai to Bangalore. And like, even like in the morning when you said like there are people studying from outside, we then got scared.
You have done well.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah. Actually, thanks Nitish for organizing this. But the first quiz, right, when I attended, I mean, the day I was in a customer meeting, right, around 5 o'clock on 4th of June, right, my manager called and he said, boss, there is a quiz and you need to participate tomorrow. I said, what? Tomorrow? I don't want to take this quiz and all because I'm in a customer meeting. He said, no, yeah, you have to go. That's planned and we have registered. You have to go. Then next day morning I gave very casually, right, the first round. So myself and my friend. Then after the results come, right, I was seeing the statistics and it was very interesting. And from second round it was, I felt yes, I have to, prepare well and do. And all the questions and everything was actually good. So it was nice.
Great. And I love your manager. Let me tell you.
Thanks.
Hello. Good morning to all. This is Pushparaj from Cognizant. Actually, I have already know about this ITL and even I have presented a paper for that. Unfortunately, it was not selected. So I don't want to miss this opportunity. But anyway, I got the opportunity to participate in this quiz. So we both have cleared the first 2 rounds and yesterday we were here for semi-finals. Even it was very nice and expecting more to be in finals. Thanks.
Great. All the best, team. Thank you.
Thanks.
You can take your seat, please. So that's what happened. That was the highlight yesterday, apart from fantastic speakers of good feedback that we received. Today we have a keynote from Julian Harty. He'll be talking about symbiotic relationship between analytics and testing. Quite an interesting topic when he proposed analytics being back in trend thanks to the big data buzzword. So let's see what Julian Harty has to talk about and what role testers have to play in the vast area of analytics. Julian, where are you? Are you here? Okay. you are making a dramatic entry. So, Julian, over to you.
I've got a little thingy when it works. Can you hear me, yes? At the back? People at the back are awake? It's a bad start. If you're awake at the beginning and you fall asleep at the end, I know I've done wrong. If you're asleep at the beginning and awake at the end, I feel better. So can you all go to sleep now? Right, we've got the slides up. No, we haven't got the slides up. Let's have the slides, please. Handsome though I am. Handsome though UNICOM is. Right, good. The big, long title about this relationship between testing and analytics. So what is symbiosis? There are 3 forms of symbiosis. The first one is where one party benefits and the other one suffers. For those of you who've had head lice and know what they feel like, they have a symbiotic relationship with your head. They're happy. I don't think you're very happy. The next one is commensalism. This is where one party benefits and the other one gets nothing out of it. So we have a little hermit crab here. He gets a protection of the shell of the snail. The snail gets nothing from the crab. And the third one is where the zebra and the wildebeest travel together in Africa. And they travel together because the zebra can see well and the wildebeest can smell well. So between them, they can detect the prey sooner, and both of them benefit from this. In software, then, we have various sources of feedback. We have feedback on our software. This is the one we kind of recognize. We have feedback on our testing. How many bugs are there? And we have feedback for development. And where does this feedback come from? Typically, it comes from us. We do testing. We get feedback from our applications. We get feedback from our users who complain about our software. And we get feedback from a testing perspective in terms of fixed bugs. How many of you have filed a bug? All of you, I hope. It's the right conference. Okay, you filed a bug. Maybe you filed more than one bug. Maybe you filed hundreds of bugs. And when we file bugs in a company, what happens to them? They go into an open state. At some point, they go into a closed state, if you're lucky, but they may not have gone through a fixed state in between. They may have just ignored your bug, and you filed 50 bugs, they looked at 5 of them, they fixed 3 of them. So what does that tell me about my testing? I filed 50 bugs, they fixed 3 of them. Could I improve my testing? Am I finding bugs that they don't care enough about to fix? So it's not the bug isn't important. Yes, the label should be a different color of pink, but the company says, well, compared to whatever else I can do with my time, I'm not going to bother fixing this stupid bug that you've reported. Who cares? Pink versus pink. So when we get our feedback, how good is the feedback that we receive? So analytics then, I'm going to go through the basic of what I believe in analytics to be. If you go and visit Google, this is google.com analytics, and we see a nice little graph here, which says right now there are 30 active visitors on the website. Good. Excellent. 30 may be good, may be bad, but let's pretend for the moment it's good. We've got different traffic types, it says here. We have a nice little daily visits graph. Many companies run their business looking at these pretty graphs. Management gets bonuses based on these pretty graphs. We might even get bonuses based on the pretty graphs. So can we trust these graphs? Then analytics is commonplace in the web. Most of you use Google, Gmail. Some of you use sites like eBay to buy things, Expedia to book your travel, Flipkart. All these sites are using analytics to understand what we're doing. In mobile, more than half of the top mobile apps, top 100 mobile apps, have analytics built into it. So why are they bother doing this? What is it about it? And the way it works is developers add some code, I'll show you the code later on, that sends some extra data over the internet. That's all it really does at the beginning. Often we get our software from someone else. We didn't write it, we borrow it, we get it for free from the internet from somewhere else. So we can log into Google and say, please give me the analytics library, and they say, sure, just download it here, click through, yes, okay, now drag it into my project, add a line of code, yippee! I've got Google Analytics in my code. It might impact privacy. Privacy is dealing with personal issues. So if it's reporting about my behavior, I might not be quite as happy with the application doing that as you might be as looking at the pretty data. So if it's capturing things like which country I'm in, perhaps a burglar at home is saying, hey, Julian's in India. Good time to visit Julian's house. So that wouldn't be so good, would it? And quite often, particularly in mobile, it includes something called crash reporting. Most software has bugs in. I think that's why you're here, isn't it? Your job is because software has bugs in it. So when software fails, particularly on a mobile device, we don't know where it's failed. It's out there somewhere. Your software might be running in another part of India. It might be running in New York. It might be running in China. How do we know what's happening with that software? So crash reporting captures that information and sends it back as part of the analytics data. And the first time companies with largest user bases look at this, they don't just get one crash report from yesterday. They get 11 million crash reports. It's a scary number the first time you see this and think, what the heck? My software out there with perhaps 1 million users crashed 11 million times yesterday. Kind of scary, isn't it? Particularly if you were the tester who signed off on that release. You suddenly think, I reported 7 bugs and there's 11 million yesterday. Not so good. The slides, by the way, are all freely available. I'll make them available online afterwards. And you're free to use the slides. The only restriction I put on you is you don't claim that you wrote them, which I hope is fair. So you've got all the links here. A very nice Wired article called Test, Test, Test. And this is about businesses who everything they do is testing. But it's not testing in our traditional sense of someone gives me the software before it goes live and I fiddle with it and play with it and then send out a bug report and eventually the software goes live. This is the opposite. The software goes live first and then they look at the results of it. So it's a different mindset and they do it with every piece of software. It's deliberate. So third parties. Why do we use a third-party library? Is it because we're not very clever? Can you write an analytics library, sir? Can you write an analytics library? Can you write code for an analytics library? Can you program and write an analytics library? No, damn. Okay, you weren't going to help me. So maybe some of you will say, oh no, I can write some code. I did Java at school, at college. Maybe I'm even paid to write code today. But writing analytics code isn't that simple, so we want it from someone else. We use someone else's library for it. Good. We didn't pay for this library, typically. It's free. So why did that person give us their software that took them time and energy to write, and it costs them time and money to run the services under behind it, if they're not getting anything from it? So clearly they must be getting something from this library. Makes sense, doesn't it? So they typically get the money from using this data and reselling this data. They may resell this data to someone else. So your application, sending logs about your application, that data is being sold to some other company. Perhaps it's a marketing company. Perhaps it's the government. Perhaps it's a newspaper. Perhaps it's even UNICOM. They want to know who's using Stack Overflow app in Bangalore area so they can target you. So how's this all work technically then? Well, I picked mobile as an example. Web is similar, but mobile is slightly more complex, so I picked it as an example. We've got mobile phones with some software in. They send some messages. The message goes to what I call a data collector. A data collector is typically something like a big web server on the internet, but it may not be a web server that you or I would recognize when we visit it. But the message typically goes over the internet. It gets funneled into a database. That's where the records go. And then some filtering takes place on these records. By design, analytics is statistical in nature. It's not that you look at the individual call record or event record. Instead, we look at aggregate. How many users from Bangalore are using an Android 2.3 device with our application yesterday? How many people in Germany have used the new release that we put out 3 days ago? So it's always aggregate data. We also filter the data. We're filtering it by country, by device, by application, et cetera, and we look at the results on a web server. We log into Google Analytics, type in our username and password, and look at the pretty graphs I showed you earlier on. That's roughly how analytics works. If you're lucky, maybe you've got a connection so you can suck out the data through an API to do your own manipulation of this. Each of these steps has a delay in it. The delay might be a couple of seconds, it might be a couple of hours, it may even be a day or two. So we're not getting real time, we're getting near real-time feedback about our applications, our web apps, our mobile apps, whatever it is out there. There are 3 types of events in this. There are events that are a one-to-one relationship. My code makes a function call into the analytics library. It sends a single event out to the data collector and into the database. Sometimes we send many messages. We call several times. This has just happened, that's just happened, the other's just happened. And the analytics library packages it all together and sends a single message over the internet that's processed. The odd one is the library-initiated event. This is, we haven't done anything, but the library sends a message anyway. So it's good or bad? Well, the library will typically have things like, this is an iPhone running iOS version 6.1. The current language is set to Hindi or Katana or French or whatever it is. The app version is 1.3, and the app key, the unique identifier, is whatever the magic number is, 27. So that seems like a sensible thing to do, doesn't it? We rely on the library doing it. The thing is that whatever our code can do, and at the top I've shown you that the mobile app and the analytics libraries are combined. They combine into a single cohesive application on the app that the users download. If my app has permission to get to contacts, then so does the analytics library. So if the analytics library programmer says, might be interesting to look at the contacts here, we might not even know it's happening, but the contacts are being taken out from underneath it and shipped off over the internet. And as you'll find out, if you look at academic research, quite a few libraries do quite a few bad things. Now, let's imagine back to your CEO. CEOs are quite pompous people, the present company accepted.